Hello, I'm Linda, and I have an unusual candida yeast infection story to share with you today. It's about how I completely got rid of my severe yeast infection and how I finally regained my health after 12 years of suffering. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get rid of your existing candida infection symptoms in 12 hours, and how to eliminate the root cause of your yeast infection in the next 30 days, so that you can gain complete and permanent freedom from candida yeast infection and its related symptoms for good. You might be wondering who I am and why I am sharing this critical material with you. My name is Linda Allen, and I am a certified nutrition specialist, health consultant, medical researcher, speaker, and author. I am also a former yeast infection sufferer. Over the past 14 years, I've helped men and women in 157 countries to permanently get rid of their candida yeast infections and dramatically improve the quality of their lives. And today, I would like to help you. Are you suffering from any of the following symptoms? Itching or burning sensation in your intimate parts? Depression or mood swings? Vaginal odor or vaginal discharge? Chronic rashes? Constant tiredness or fatigue? Irritability? Headaches or frequent migraines? Food allergies? Increased craving for simple carbohydrates? Yeast infections in your toenails or fingernails? Unexplainable feeling of not being yourself? Are you just downright frustrated because you know there must be an answer to your problem, but you just haven't been able to find it? Well, you just found it. My story began in my late teens. When most of my peers were experiencing optimal health, I began a downward spiral that would last for more than a decade. My doctor began treating me with rounds of antibiotics, each set stronger than the last. They would work only for a few weeks, though, and then I'd be back to square one. With spring knocking at the door, my doctor switched gears, prescribing allergy medication to help clear my head and nasal passageways. My initial symptoms were slowly improving, but I still wasn't feeling like, well, me. My energy was sapped, and I felt exhausted, which affected my grades and put a big dent in my social life. The summer months brought a bit of a reprieve, but that was short-lived. By Christmas, I was again experiencing a repeat of the previous winter, only now I had a gruesome new symptom to add to my litany of complaints: chronic and, yes, flaming yeast infections. I spent thousands of dollars on antibiotics to treat ongoing infections over the years, only to be faced with all sorts of side effects and depleted savings. Fed up with traditional methods, I then tried a whole new tactic. I tried everything. As my 30th birthday drew near, I knew that I had to take some real action. It was time to get serious and find some answers. So I started studying hard. I bought every book on dermatology, yeast overgrowth, hormonal production, detoxing, dieting, and nutrition that I could get my hands on. But I didn't just read. I interviewed countless other yeast infection sufferers and endlessly picked the brains of every doctor, herbalist, homeopath, and naturopath kind enough to lend their time. Well, today, I am a different person. It took several more years of research, but I began to see some connections. Once I understood that a real cure could only be achieved if the underlying root cause and the circumstances that promote candida growth in the body were dealt with, I began to realize the importance of treating the entire body from the inside out. Hundreds of therapies later, I began to look for a pattern, exploring if some treatments could be combined for maximum effect. What I discovered was amazing. It was only after 12 painful years when I accidentally stumbled upon this missing piece to the candida yeast infection puzzle that my yeast infection completely disappeared. My chronic yeast infection cleared up, my sinus problems went away, my stomach ailments disappeared, and my energy returned. I'm going to share with you 5 powerful keys to become free of candida infection for good. Key number 1. Antifungal drugs will make your yeast infection worse. No matter what your doctor tells you, taking antifungal medications, antibiotics, and steroids of any kind to treat your yeast infection will significantly damage your internal system, destroy your natural internal balance, make your infection and your health worse in the long run. Key number 2. Antifungal creams, probiotics, and natural antifungals will not cure your yeast infection. While there are several topical treatments that may significantly alleviate the symptoms of your yeast infection, they only serve as Band-Aids by masking the symptoms of Candida yeast overgrowth. Probiotic therapy, which reestablishes the balance between good and bad bacteria in your digestive tract, is also useless, as it completely ignores the root cause of Candida infection. The same goes for many of the natural anti-candida products that you see in health food stores. Killing the Candida microorganism alone is definitely not enough to achieve lasting freedom from yeast infection. Key number 3. Despite what some doctors and conventional health advocates may say, there is a strong link between diet and yeast infection. However, diet alone cannot cure Candida yeast overgrowth. The truth is, the right diet, while not a solution by itself, can in many cases dramatically reduce yeast infection symptoms and help remove a significant part of your infection. Recent studies have found a strong connection between diet and yeast infection. The wrong diet is now thought to be one of the leading factors contributing to Candida yeast overgrowth. It can negatively affect the intestinal bacterial balance and the natural process of toxin elimination, thereby seriously aggravating your existing yeast infection. Nevertheless, Candida yeast infection is a complex condition that is triggered by multiple underlying factors. Therefore, the only way to neutralize your yeast infection is to tackle all of these contributing factors holistically. Key number 4. Yeast infection is not just a localized surface problem, but a warning signal of a serious inner imbalance. Let's make this clear. Yeast infection is not a localized problem with your genitals, mouth, head, muscles, etc. And that is why killing the local fungus, fighting the rash, or reducing the redness will never work to completely cure your Candida yeast overgrowth. Yeast infection is a systemic problem. It's a symptom of an internal disorder that affects your whole body and manifests as skin disorders, digestive problems, migraines, etc. Key number 5. The true cause of yeast infection and the only way to cure it permanently. Yeast infection is a condition in which the balance of your internal environment is disrupted. There are factors and cofactors that contribute to Candida overgrowth, and there are also causative agents that aggravate an already compromised yeast infection condition. The only way to stop yeast overgrowth permanently is to prevent this condition from recurring. Only by following a comprehensive, multidimensional, holistic program to tackle the underlying cause and the circumstances promoting Candida growth in your body can you regain your health and become yeast infection-free for good. Let me introduce you to my best-selling program, Yeast Infection No More, the only holistic Candida yeast infection system in existence that will teach you how to permanently cure your yeast overgrowth, rebalance your body, and regain your vitality. Yeast Infection No More is a surefire, 100% guaranteed system that is backed by over 35,000 hours of research. This highly unique and powerful Candida overgrowth healing system has helped thousands of people worldwide. In fact, over 143,000 people in 157 countries have used this program already to get rid of their yeast infections for good. This system has been optimized over 12 years of research, and its powerful protocols, set in unique and precise order, are specifically designed to eradicate all types of yeast infections of all levels of severity. The Yeast Infection No More program will enable you to gain complete freedom from vaginal, male, oral, and skin yeast infections, eradicate excessive Candida yeast overgrowth in the digestive tract, enhance digestive and intestinal health, eliminate food allergies, fight depression, mood swings, and anxiety related to yeast overgrowth, feel lighter, healthier, and more energetic. Yeast Infection No More works for all types of Candida infections, including mild and systemic yeast infections, vaginal yeast infection in the penis area, yeast infection on the skin surface, yeast infection in the mouth and throat, yeast infection in the bladder and kidneys, yeast infection in the urethra, yeast infection in deep organ tissues, yeast infection in the bones, joints, and muscles. I'll take you inside my program in just a minute, but first let me share some feedback from people who have tried this system. Dear Linda, about 2 years ago, I developed a severe case of vaginal yeast infection that would not let up. The itching, burning, and swelling of my labia were simply unbearable. I purchased several over-the-counter treatments, including Monistat cream, to subside the symptoms. While they worked initially, eventually things wore off and left me with an even worse infection than before. The same goes for the antibiotics that I took, per the advice of my doctor. I felt horrible. After doing some research online, I guessed that I had a yeast infection and purchased your program. The results were almost instantaneous. In less than 7 hours, I felt a tremendous relief. 2 weeks later, I became completely free from the unbearable vaginal itching, burning, swelling, and discharge. Using your methods, I have kept my chronic yeast infection at bay ever since. No more drugs or OTC treatments for me. Thank you so much, Linda. Christy Halverson, age 19, Florida, USA. Hi, Linda. I'm 34 and had most of the symptoms you list that are the manifestation of Candida yeast infection. Besides the constant redness, swelling, and itching in my intimate parts, I used to be slightly overweight and suffered from digestive problems, including leaky gut syndrome, blurred vision, and fatigue. I also had constant cravings for sugary foods. I used to feel guilty and weak all the time. Who would have believed that all those horrible symptoms were linked to Candida yeast infection? I have been on your system for 4 weeks, and not only did the itching and redness completely vanish, but I also became regular, lost some decent pounds, and lost my cravings for sugar. The blurred vision and the inability to focus are gone. I feel so alive and in control for the first time in my life. I cannot say thank you enough. Why don't more doctors know about this method? I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart, and you can use this testimonial on your site if you like. Dave Rasmussen, age 34, Melbourne, Australia. Now, here's what's really great. You don't have to wait more than a minute to get my revolutionary yeast infection cure system today. In fact, you will have instant access to the entire Yeast Infection No More system in about 30 seconds. Super bonus. Free one-on-one counseling with me for 3 months. Yes, for a limited time only. Free private counseling, advice, and guidance from a certified nutritionist and a lifelong medical researcher are just an email away. If at any time you feel confused, you can have your questions answered privately by me. I'd love to hear from you. Just email me and I promise you'll get an answer in 24 hours. This private counseling is valued at $197, but you get it for free in the Yeast Infection No More package today. Now, the entire Yeast Infection No More package has a retail price tag of $323.85. But hold on. You're not going to pay $300. You're not even going to pay half of that. In fact, you're not even going to pay $49. For a limited time only, and only through my special link here, you get it all. The entire Yeast Infection No More system for only $39.97. Can you believe it? You get it all for only $39.97. Imagine yourself in 4 to 6 weeks from now. Are you still suffering from chronic yeast infections? Are your genitals and other parts of your body still irritating, red, and painful? Are you still suffering from thrush, irritability, headaches, or food allergies? Still suffering from blurred vision, muscle aches, digestive problems, or chronic fatigue? Still experiencing that unexplainable feeling of not being yourself? Or are you living a full, active, yeast infection-free life with more energy, better health, and absolutely no allergies, digestive problems, skin infections, or headaches? The choice is yours. Just click the button below this video, and it's all yours. Every bonus, every trick, and every secret to eliminating your yeast infection and restoring your health. And it's only $39.97 without any risk. Click the button now, and let's get started.